I'm accompanying some 12th graders today. We came up here to Benguet yesterday. And the task, the mission, accompanying our young people doesn't get easier. It gets tougher and tougher each time. Uh, yeah, it gets tougher and tougher each time. Um, Stories that used to touch the hearts of other kids sometimes don't work anymore. And there are certain games and certain, motivations that were used to be a hit. Now, ibang kilite. And as I've been accompanying our young people this school year, what I realized is that they're like fire. Our young people, they're like fire. Uh, Fire is beautiful to look at, right? It's bold and big and strong and warm, and it has many uses. Our young people are like fire, no? They're spunky, they're brave, they're bold. They say what they think, sometimes without filtering. There's a tendency to be impulsive, but they're big risk takers. I mean, if I were to compare myself to the young kids of today, I'd like to think they're even bolder and braver and assertive than the young people of my generation. They're really like a ball of fire. But as with, any element in the world, fire also can be dangerous, right? Just today, I noticed a tendency for some of our young people to say superlative words like never, always, like my parents never show affection. I am always wrong. I am not enough. They're pretty strong words. And if you really dig deeper, it's not that they never experienced it. It's not that it's always the case. You know, um, their language can be very uh, extreme sometimes. You know, and got me thinking. When I was young, was I like that too? Was I big, bold, and brave? Maybe not as much as our young people today, but I had less fears, right? We had less fears. We liked to play outside. We talked to people we didn't know. We talked to strangers. And then somewhere along the way, we grow up and we get hurt. We get burned by the very same fire that gave us that push, gave us that motivation. And then when we grow older, we suddenly lose that spark. We become afraid. We get worried. We get anxious. We learn from our mistakes. We mellow. And so I'd like to think adults are more like Earth. No? Most of us are like Earth. There are some adults who are still, isip bata, right? But I'd like to think most of us later on become the Earth. We ground ourselves. We learn to temper our pride. We think before we act. We keep our feet on the ground. We try to stay humble, right? But the earth also has its cons. Some of us, because of traumatic experiences and stress, we dig our heads under the ground. We become too afraid. We become too worried about things that aren't even there yet. Um, we disappear, 'di ba? If need be, we hide our whole bodies under the ground. We don't come out of our houses anymore and we play it safe. So each day I get an opportunity to accompany our young people. I learn a lot from them, right? It reminds me that I shouldn't stop keeping that fire in my heart burning. That every now and then we should try something new. We should laugh at our mistakes. We should have fun. And as as scripture says, you are the light of the earth, or you are the light of the world, right? Our young people, this is the year of the youth. They are being encouraged, to take the lead and to be the light of the world. So fire can be great. It is fire that signals the beginning of a new day through the sunlight. It is fire that cooks our food. It's fire that lights the way. And so, our young people out there, we adults, we older ones, have a lot to remember about how we were when we were young, to keep that light alive. But at the same time, that light can also burn, you know? That light can sometimes burn if we are too impulsive and we speak words in its extreme, and we don't give other people a chance. We don't give ourselves a chance. So fire also needs to be protected, right? As for the adults, whom I see more as earth, you know, our life experiences have taught us to be more grounded, have taught us to humble ourselves. We have our scars from the fire that may have burned us before, but we're also reminded today not to be, not to hide ourselves from the world, not to dig our faces, not to dig our our potential deep down in the ground, diba? Because as with that same scripture passage, you are the light of the world and you are also salt of the earth, right? So salt of the earth to add flavor, to add meaning, right? To add meaning to what already exists, to add, uh, ano ba? To keep the soil fertile, right? So for some of us who are struggling today with work and we feel like, Thursday na, isang araw na lang, kaya ko to, push lang, weekend na. Like you're just crawling and you're just being compliant with whatever the work requires of you. We're reminded today, or at least I feel like I'm being reminded today that I am salt of the earth. You are salt of the earth. And, as salt of the earth, that flavor, that grace is always there. We just need to pick ourselves up and undig our face from the ground and keep going. Today's gospel is a passage that has been repeated. Parang pansin ko it's been repeated the past few days. And it's Jesus just reminding us, remain in my love. So whether you're fire and you're becoming a bit impulsive and a bit too assertive without some time for discernment and reflection, we are being asked by our good Lord to take a few steps back. Take a few steps back, temper that, thermostat, or temper that blazing fire, and come back and remain in His love. Be reminded where the source of our fire is coming from. And if on the other hand, we feel more like the earth, remain in my love. Do not disappear from the face of the earth. Do not hide. Do not give up. Keep your head, keep your chin up high, and our work, God's work in us, isn't quite finished yet. I'm here now in the mountains of Benguet. It's a really, really nice. What time is it? Almost 6 o'clock. But as you can see, I'll show you around. I'll show you where I'm seated. I'm seated under this really nice, parang gazebo. There. And just surrounded by green and quiet. So lucky me. Lucky me that, while the students are on their are going through their confession, I get just some time off just to whew, detach for a while and recharge through the trees. I know the trees here are feeding me with some good energy. You are the light of the world and you are salt of the earth. Remain in God's love.